What dies first on a pirate ship is not your body. It is the fantasy. Before the first day is over, the sea starts stripping away everything that made this life sound thrilling from shore. The first thing that hits you is the smell. Wet wood, tar, stale beer, salt, smoke, old food, and too many bodies packed into too little air. It catches in your throat. It settles into your clothes. From a distance, the deck looks dramatic, all dark planks and snapping canvas. Up close, it is slick, splintered, always damp, and works so hard it never feels clean. You do not board a pirate ship as an adventurer. You board it as one more tired body entering a floating machine that can punish weakness faster than most modern people can imagine. Then space finishes off whatever romance is left. Forget the wide, heroic decks from movies. Most of your life happens in cramped corners, under low beams, between coils of rope, barrels of water, sacks of food, and men who have not had privacy in weeks. Every movement requires negotiation. Every hour somebody is in your way, standing over you, cursing beside you, sleeping against you, or stepping across your legs. Your world shrinks to timber inches from your face and bodies breathing in the dark. After one night, the ship already feels less like freedom and more like a floating alley with no exit. If you want to keep exploring the parts of history that legends clean up, subscribe. And then the labor starts, relentless enough to make 7 days feel long. The sea does not care whether you are brave, enthusiastic, or in love with the idea of pirate life. Sails do not rise because you think the life sounds exciting. They rise because hands drag them upward until palms split and shoulders burn. Lines have to be hauled, knots checked, wood scrubbed, leaks watched, cargo shifted, guns cleaned, and every loose thing tied down before weather changes its mind. Nothing is decorative. Every rope is work. Every sail is work. Even standing upright becomes work when the floor under your boots moves like it wants to throw you into the ocean. You learn quickly that a pirate ship was not built for comfort but for urgency. The rigging is beautiful only to people watching from shore. Up close, it is a web of hazards swinging in hard wind above a deck that pitches beneath you without warning. One bad grip, one wet shoe, one sudden roll of the hull, and you are not in a thrilling scene. You are falling into spars, lines, railings, or black water. No one stops the day because you are scared. Fear is treated like useless weight. If you cannot climb, pull, or move fast, you become a problem the crew notices immediately. And the crew notices everything. That fantasy dies fast too. Pirate life was not a relaxed brotherhood of charming rebels drinking at sunset. It was a tense social cage full of men measuring each other for weakness, selfishness, laziness, and panic. On a ship, reputation becomes survival currency. Eat more than your share, hide from labor, complain too loudly, freeze at the wrong moment, or fail to do your part in rough weather, and the ship remembers. There is nowhere to disappear to. You sleep among the same eyes that judged you on deck. You wake to the same grudges. Food would finish off a lot of modern people before the danger ever did. You are not living on cinematic roasted meat and overflowing mugs of fresh drink. You are living on what keeps, what fits in barrels, and what has not spoiled beyond use. Biscuit hard enough to chip a tooth. Salted meat so dry or sour it feels like punishment. Water that turns stale. Beer or spirits that are safer than foul casks of fresh water but never truly refreshing. You stop eating for pleasure. You eat because hunger at sea is a slower enemy than disgust. Every meal is a negotiation between appetite and what your stomach can still forgive. Then comes the matter of sleep, or rather, the constant theft of it. A ship moves all night. Timber complains. Water slaps the hull. Someone coughs. Someone snores. Boots strike the deck overhead. Orders come suddenly. Weather turns. Watches change. The air below can be hot, sour, and close, or cold enough to settle straight into your bones. There are no soft exits from exhaustion. You do not get restorative sleep. You collapse in fragments and rise on command, never quite certain whether your body has recovered or merely stopped protesting for an hour. If you get seasick, the romance ends completely. The sea has a cruel way of reducing every grand idea to a bucket and a shaking pair of knees. It does not matter how much courage you imagine bringing aboard. If your body decides the horizon is wrong, you become weak, thirsty, hollow, and useless, while the ship still demands labor. Now picture hauling rope with a stomach turning inside out, your mouth tasting of salt and bile, your head pounding, while older hands treat your misery as proof that you do not belong here. The ocean does not test only muscle, it humiliates the body in front of witnesses. Storms are the great editors of fantasy. In calm weather, you can still pretend the ship is an adventure. In heavy wind, it becomes a survival device held together by discipline, luck, and labor, done at the right second. Rain blinds you, decks turn slick, sails crack like giant whips, the mast groans, orders come through noise and darkness, and every man moves because hesitation spreads danger to everyone else. This is not a place for cinematic speeches. It is a place where cold fingers fail on wet rope and where one mistake can multiply across the ship before anyone has time to curse your name. You would also discover that pirate democracy, where it existed, was not kindness. Yes, some crews had rules, shares, and agreements that were different from the rigid brutality of naval service. But fairness at sea had sharp edges. Your share depended on risk, usefulness, and obedience to the articles. Break those rules and the consequences were not abstract. They were immediate, material, and public. You could lose food, money, trust, or protection. On land, you can drift away from people who hate you. At sea, you remain trapped inside the terms of whatever rough order keeps the whole vessel alive. If this side of history feels harsher than the legend, leave a like. The sun is another enemy nobody romanticizes correctly. On open water, there is no city shade, no easy shelter, no cool room waiting at the end of labor. There is only glare bouncing off water until your eyes ache and your skin feels cooked under salt. Lips crack, clothing stiffens, sweat dries and returns and dries again. Then night comes, and the heat you hated can vanish into a damp chill that makes the same body shiver. The sea gives discomfort in cycles. You are either too hot, too cold, too wet, too thirsty, or too tired to care which one is currently winning. And when the work pauses, anxiety takes over. Because the sea never stops being dangerous just because the deck has gone quiet. You scan the horizon. You listen for weather. You wonder about reefs, patrols, armed merchants, rot in the hull, sickness in the crew, shortage in the stores, leaks no one has named yet. A pirate ship is not just a workplace. It is a fragile moving bargain between wood, wind, hunger, greed, and violence waiting just beyond sight. Silence does not feel peaceful for long. It feels like a gap in which the next problem is gathering itself. Combat, when it comes, is less glorious than most people imagine and far more chaotic. The fear starts before any shot. It starts in the waiting, when distance closes, and everyone understands that by sundown, the deck may be crowded with smoke, splintered wood, shouting, and consequences nobody can reverse. Your job is not to look heroic. Your job is to move, carry, load, duck, brace, and keep functioning while noise tears your nerves apart. Even if you are never touched, the sensory overload alone is enough to leave your hands shaking long after the danger passes. Real fear is not dramatic. It is practical and fast. And if the ship takes damage, the sea enters the story like a creditor collecting a debt. A cracked spar, a torn sail, a leaking seam, a smashed rail. None of it stays a small problem for long. Men work while soaked, slipping, and terrified, because repairs at sea are never tidy. They are frantic acts of prevention. You patch, bind, haul, and pray the next wave does not make the damage worse. A pirate ship might look powerful when it closes on prey, but it is still a wooden body in hostile water. Once the ship is hurt, everyone feels how thin the line is between control and sinking. Disease may be the least cinematic reason you would fail, but it is one of the most likely. Crowded quarters, bad water, spoiled food, untreated wounds, lice, rot, and endless dampness make the ship a perfect home for misery. You do not need a dramatic battle to be ruined. A fever, infected cut, or stomach sickness can turn you from crewman to burden in days. There are no clean clinics below deck, no quiet recovery room, no reliable medicine. There is only the crew's patience, the ship's schedule, and your body attempting to heal in a place designed to wear bodies down. Then there are the small injuries that pile up until you are no longer the person who boarded. rope burns, splinters, bruised ribs from a sudden slam against timber, fingers pinched in pulleys, knees wrecked by constant bracing, back pain from lifting, skin rubbed raw by salt and wet fabric. None of these make the songs. All of them make the life. Pirate survival is often lost not in one grand catastrophe, but in the accumulation of daily damage. By the end of a week, your body would understand the ship better than your imagination ever did, and it would understand through pain. What really makes the first 7 days deadly is that you do not yet know the rhythm. Veteran sailors read the deck with their feet. They sense wind changes in canvas, trouble in the motion of the hull, hierarchy in the tone of an order, danger in the silence after a command. You would still be translating everything too slowly. That delay can be fatal. On land, ignorance is embarrassing. At sea, ignorance wastes seconds nobody can spare. The crew will forgive weakness faster than they forgive confusion that endangers the ship. Until the rhythm enters your muscles, you are always half a beat behind disaster. You would probably imagine that plunder makes it worthwhile. Gold, silver, fine cloth, exotic cargo, the sudden reversal from poverty to fortune. But pirate profit was irregular, uncertain, and usually shared thinner than legends suggest. Long stretches of hunger, boredom, fear, and labor did not guarantee a glorious payday. Sometimes the prize was disappointing. Sometimes it fought back. Sometimes storms, disease, patrols, betrayal, or simple bad luck swallowed the reward before it reached your hands. The fantasy remembers the chest. It forgets the weeks of grime and danger required to maybe, possibly, see what was inside it. And even success creates new tension. Once goods are taken, they must be stored, guarded, divided, and argued over. Suspicion blooms fast wherever scarcity meets greed. Who did the hardest work? Who deserves extra? Who is hiding coin, cloth, or jewelry? Who hung back in danger but expects equal reward now that the barrels are open? A pirate ship survives by shared risk, but shared reward rarely feels shared enough. The richer the take, the sharper the eyes become. Fortune does not remove pressure. It rearranges it into jealousy, bargaining, and old resentments suddenly worth speaking aloud. You would not escape class cruelty just because you joined outlaws either. Pirate crews often drew from the hard edges of the Atlantic world. Runaway laborers, desperate sailors, debtors, drifters, men fleeing discipline or seeking a larger share than empire allowed. That made pirate life feel rebellious, but not gentle. The ship was still built on scarcity, usefulness, rank earned through force, and a brutal understanding that some bodies carried more weight than others. It was a temporary refuge from one hierarchy, not freedom from hierarchy itself. The poor did not magically become safe because the flag changed. What do you think would break most people first? The labor, the fear, or the lack of escape? Let me know in the comments. The weather, meanwhile, keeps taking pieces of you. Salt dries your skin until it cracks. Wind scrapes your face. Sun drains you by day. Damp cold hollows you by night. Clothes stay wet too long. Boots never quite feel right. Hair stiffens with salt. Your hands harden and still hurt. You begin to understand that the sea does not simply surround life aboard ship. It enters it. It gets into your mouth, your bedding, your work, your wounds, your temper, your food, and your dreams. By the 7th day, even your thoughts start feeling weathered. Then there is the simple terror of falling overboard, which haunts every task more than movies admit. The sea is not a blue backdrop from the safety of a beach. From the side of a moving ship, it is distance, force, and indifference. A slip during rough weather, a missed grip in darkness, a sudden jerk of the vessel, and the ocean takes you away from wood, light, and shouting faces with horrifying speed. Rescue is uncertain even in ideal conditions. In bad conditions, it becomes a cruel hope people mention because the alternative is to say nothing at all. Fire is the opposite nightmare, and somehow just as real. A ship is wood, tar, cloth, rope, powder, oil, and cramped air. It floats because all the dangerous things are forced to coexist without one fatal spark. Cooking, Smoking, lanterns, gunpowder, heated tools. Every flame asks for discipline. You would live surrounded by materials that can drown you if they fail and burn you if they ignite. On land, fire sends you into the street. At sea, there is no street. There is only deck, smoke, panic, and dark water waiting on every side. The lack of escape may be the hardest truth of all. Modern people survive many bad situations by stepping away, changing jobs, closing doors, taking a walk, sleeping somewhere else, calling for help, retreating into privacy. A pirate ship removes almost all of those exits. You cannot quit the weather. You cannot resign from hunger. You cannot distance yourself from a violent argument when both of you sleep 3 feet apart. You cannot clear your head when the world around you is moving timber and endless water. Even your own thoughts become louder because there is nowhere else for them to go. That confinement changes the way time feels. 7 days sounds short on land. At sea, 7 days can feel like a season if each one is filled with alarms, labor, spoiled food, poor sleep, and the constant possibility of injury. Morning does not mean freshness. It means another round. Night does not mean peace. It means darkness on top of danger. By the 3rd or 4th day, the novelty is dead. By the 5th, your body is bargaining for relief that never comes. By the 7th, survival no longer feels like an idea. It feels like a task you must keep earning hour by hour. And there is shame in failing, which makes everything worse. On a pirate ship, weakness is rarely private. If you vomit, freeze, fumble a line, panic at a gun, struggle aloft, or shrink from the labor, other people see it immediately. Some may help, others will laugh, resent you, or store the memory for later. The ship is a hard theater where everyone performs competence because incompetence can spread harm. That social pressure burns almost as much as the work itself. You are not just trying to endure the sea, you are trying not to be identified as the person least fit to endure it. What Hollywood usually sells you is the reward, the black flag, the swagger, the liberty, the gold, the loud song in a tavern after a victory. What it leaves out is the unpaid cost collected first, the stink before the treasure, the rope before the rum, the hunger before the silver, the discipline before the bragging, the wet cold before the story told by firelight. Pirate life could look like freedom only from a very selective distance. Up close, for most men on most days, it looked like labor balanced over danger by people too desperate to choose comfort. That is why you probably would not survive 7 days on a pirate ship. Not because you lack courage, but because courage is only one ingredient in a system that demanded trained muscles, sea legs, tolerance for filth, obedience under pressure, suspicion of comfort, and a body willing to be remade by salt, exhaustion, and fear. You would need to learn quickly, eat badly, sleep poorly, work constantly, and accept that every horizon might carry trouble. Most fantasies fail because they are too soft. The sea is not soft. Pirate life was not soft. 7 days would be enough to teach you that in the language of bruises, hunger, and hard-earned silence. And if you did make it through that first week, truly make it through, you would not step off the ship feeling like a legend. You would step off feeling older, rougher, and stripped of most of the illusions that brought you aboard. The songs would sound different. The costumes would look cleaner than they have any right to. The image of the pirate as a free king of the waves would shrink into something harsher and far more human. A tired laborer with salt in his wounds, danger at his back, and no guarantee that tomorrow's horizon holds anything but more work. That may be less romantic, but it is much closer to the truth. And truth at sea is usually what remains after the fantasy has been worked, starved, and washed overboard. And if you want to step into another brutal corner of history, there's more waiting on this channel.